Eddie V here. Welcome to the show live for another installment, the third installment of the Eddie V live show. Today we're going to be talking about, I'm going to run it back to the first episode. We did a little episode on nutrition last time, but I'm going to run it back to the first episode because I've been thinking about it a lot. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go back to the first one. But I've been thinking a lot about why it bothered me so much um, that a Catholic school would not talk about politics with their students or in general would condemn discussing politics at their school. And I think I kind of gold with why that bothers me so much. And it has to do with a broader of culture. And so we need to talk about what culture is first before I can kind of lay out what was going on with that school or what my disagreement with that school is. So, what is culture? And you hear it all the time. There's culture wars. There's the secular culture. There's Catholic culture. There's Jewish culture. There's Muslim culture. There's all types of culture, different ethnic cultures, national cultures. What is culture? And I'm kind of paraphrasing. I heard Brian Holdsworth talking about this. He like briefly touched on this in an interview, which I thought was great what he said about it. And I'm going to kind of paraphrase. I think I'm paraphrasing what he said, but a definition I want to give, which he might have given, is culture is incarnate creed. So what do I mean by that? Culture is incarnate creed. What is creed? Creed is stated belief. It is statements that are supposed to share what you believe. And believing is in an intellectual practice. You have it in your mind what you believe. And then incarnate is embodied. The incarnation is an obvious example of that. Our Lord, the second person of the Holy Trinity, becomes incarnate. He becomes man. He's embodied. And in this phrase, I'm using it as in relation to the creed, incarnate creed, embodied creed. So the creed is in the mind. It's in these statements, and these statements themselves really don't mean anything to anyone until someone understands what they mean and then believes in it, acquiesces to it, says this is true. And then there's another step that I think that we're forgetting as maybe Catholics or this Catholic school, is that the creed is not supposed to be something that just remains in your mind. And this might be some sort of maybe a Protestant thing or the whole concept of your religious practice is supposed to be private. You're supposed to keep it to yourself. But really anything that you believe should be embodied. If you really believe it, it should invade every aspect of your life. There shouldn't be anything that you do that doesn't have to do with what you believe, which I would almost argue shows that whatever country you're talking about is that if there's no embodiment of your creed, do you really believe it? Or you're probably just believing some fraction of it, or it's just something for show or something that stays in your mind. I don't even know how something could just stay in your mind, though. I'd have to think about that more. So to take it back to 2 shows ago, what's happening? The school is like, we don't talk about politics here. We'll teach the creed, we'll teach the truths of the faith, and I'm assuming, they want the children to intellectually acquiesce to these statements or this information. All the information, the sacraments, the church history, moral theology, etc. But for some reason, when it comes to politics, like, whoa, we don't want to influence them there. Or we don't even want to have the discussion, which I would argue is you don't want to influence them there. And then we wonder why we don't have Catholic culture in the US or wherever because the secular culture, they're not afraid. I watched a little bit of this terrible movie yesterday. I'm not even going to say the name of it because I don't want anyone to watch it. But it was flowing. It was saturated with the secular culture. Secular culture has beliefs, even though they try to rep that it's like It's a neutral ground. There's no beliefs here. There's no religion. They have beliefs. They believe that sodomy is good or okay. They believe in divorce. They believe in fornication. Basically, they just believe in unhinged freedom, licentiousness. And they show that in their shows, in their movies, and in the music, everything. All those things is what culture is involved in. Because if culture is incarnate creed, it's just everything that comes forth from the human person. So music, economics, politics, art, painting, sculpture, movies, shows, even this right here, I would argue, is some sort of embodiment of a creed. The fact that I'm doing the show, I don't have any Catholic art behind me. This is an empty room. But the things that I'm saying, the way I'm acting is incarnate, maybe even incarnate of other things, including a religious tone. I'm Italian. I use my hands a lot. This is an incarnation of that history I have of my family, of where I'm from, where my family's from. So to say, as the school says, okay, we are going to teach them the creed or the statements of belief, even in like a moral theology sense. Like, we're going to teach them abortion is wrong. But we're not going to talk about the politics. It's like we don't want the creed to invade the political realm for some reason because it's uncomfortable. Because I'm pretty sure, honestly, and then maybe this is the reason the Catholic Church is not really persecuted in America, is that we've made an agreement with the secular culture that we will have the creed in our mind, but it won't become manifest. It won't change the buildings. It won't change the communities. It won't change how we do politics, how we run a home, male-female relations. It's going to stay in the head. It's going to stay in the church, which barely even gets there, honestly. You have these whitewashed churches. So that I think is what is really bothering me about that. Is like, you don't want Catholic culture. Everyone's always talking about Catholic culture. We need Catholic culture, and we do. But they're always saying that, but then it's like, well, don't talk about politics in the school, though. Or don't offend anyone at all. And I see this a lot with a lot of lay Catholic people that get hounded, get fired from their jobs because they're embodying the creed. They're really embodying it. They're bringing up what popes teach, and people don't like that. They're challenging the secular culture. The secular culture doesn't like that. They're challenging Muslim and Jewish culture, challenging Protestant culture, and people don't like that because the culture is what's out there that meets the other people. The creed can really just stay in your mind. You can say, like, I believe in God, the Father Almighty, creator of heaven and earth. But if that doesn't embody into actions, into ways of life, into physical manifestations of art, music, etc., it's not going to bother anyone. There's no reason to persecute you. There's no reason to persecute you if it just stays in your head. So I think that's the biggest thing I want. I'm going to attack with this podcast, with Instagram, social media, anything I can, is that it's almost, I've heard this sometimes too, it's like, we don't want to be like obnoxiously Catholic, which depending on what you mean, it's like, sure, I don't want to be obnoxious. But usually what people mean is like, why do you have so many icons? Why do you only listen to Catholic music? Why won't you watch these movies? Why won't you watch this secular movie with me? And it's like, that's not obnoxious. That's incarnated creed. That's culture. I was listening to someone talk about he had been raised in a very secular culture, but he has kids now, and I would argue, raises them right. He homeschools them. We're going to get into, not in this episode, but maybe in the future, how homeschooling is so tied in with this. Like, what is homeschooling for? But he was homeschooling his kids, and he's basically got his kids to a point where they reject the secular culture. Their whole lives it's just, they're swimming in Catholicism. It's not like Catholicism is like here and then they reach over for it sometimes. They're in it. They're swimming in it. And so when they hear something that is lesser than, Like Gregorian chant versus Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift she's secular culture. Like you should see how crazy people go over Taylor Swift. Do people go that crazy for Catholic stuff? Not usually. Not usually. But he's taught his kids so well in the true, the good, and the beautiful that they hear Taylor Swift and like, that's gross. Why would I want to listen to that? They hear Gregorian chant like that's beautiful. They're beautiful singing. That's where we need to be. That's what makes beautiful culture. And everyone loves Europe. Secular people love Europe. Catholic people love Europe. People of other religions love Europe. Why? It's not Catholic anymore. But what do you still have there? You have the beauty of the culture. You had people for generations that embodied their creed. And the big one that everyone talks about is the buildings, the architecture. They embody their creed. They had buildings going to heaven. All of the resources of the towns, of the churches pouring in to build these beautiful churches, beautiful cloisters, monasteries, roads, streets, homes, art. That's culture. And it's got to go everywhere, but it's got to go into politics. It has to. And I'm tired of this. And I honestly, I think the 20th century popes are with me. I don't have the quote on the top of my head right now. I do think they're with me is that Catholics have been sold this lie. It's like being political is like lower, or participating in politics is not what we do, not what a saint does. And I've harped on this before. It's like, no, it's not separate. It's all, we're trying to bring everything into the sacred. We are kicking out the profane out of our society. And hopefully you take that in spirit is there's still going to be profane and sacred. But we want to bring it everywhere. So yeah, I think that's going to be a big theme going forward. Incarnate creed. That's what we have to do. I think that's going to be all for today. I definitely have some more to say about that, but I'm gonna mull it over. I got to mull it over the week and then bring it forward. But really be thinking about that. How in my life can I incarnate the creed? And even the discussion, I think it's an amazing discussion to have, is like, how appropriate is it even? Maybe appropriate is not the right word. Even maybe right or wrong, but that might be worth it to talk about. But do we really need this secular crap? People are like, oh, I want to have secular stuff in my life too. And it's like, maybe that's good. Oh, I love the Eagles, so I want to listen to the Eagles. And I'm like, I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but what is the Eagles' creed? What are they incarnating? Is it what we want to incarnate? Can you listen to music? Music's the best example, but can you listen to music and not be influenced by the creed that it's incarnating? These are questions to be asked. And I don't want to go all Puritan on people and ban people from stuff and say that's my position. But my position is we really need to think about this. We really need to think about culture. And it's interesting. I know I'm going beyond what I said I was going to do, but it's interesting too. But people always talk about how culture is more powerful than religion in influencing people. And I would argue it's like, no, they're just connected. They're the same. Maybe I would honestly say the same. Some people would maybe say religion is in culture or culture is within religion. I just think they're like this. They're seamless. Culture is religion. Religion is culture. Religion provides the creed. The culture is just the expression of that creed that is given to us by religion throughout the society. And this goes into everything too. I know I'm stressing politics, but even how we design our cities, what technology we use. All of this, I think, is influenced by creed becoming incarnate. When you start to embody the thoughts of the faith, and then you start to do the faith, that's culture. That is culture. All right, that's what I got. Cool. So that's the show there. Just want to discuss. I was talking with a friend today who knows a lot about this podcasting stuff. So I was just grilling him with questions. Hopefully I'll be able to shout him out later because he has a company that does this stuff, which is awesome. But I bought a new for those people that were complaining, my few people that were saying, we need better audio, better video. I bought a new camera, a mic, so that should be coming. And I'm thinking about buying a new computer as well, so I can just get more into this stuff, maybe get an intro going and stuff like that. So stick with me, and we're gonna keep going. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Also, check out. Don't have anything on it, but I'm gonna be shouting it out. Catholic Culture Instagram. I'm gonna try to get beautiful things on that Instagram, audio, visually, just every aspect of life. Probably gonna have to go to Europe for a lot of that. So maybe some traveling in my future. But all right, I don't want to go too long, and I also want to add prayer at the beginning. So I didn't do that today. So next time, got to be thinking about this. I'm getting more serious about it. What are we 3 episodes in? I'm getting a little more serious about it. I'm getting a little more serious about it. So we'll see what happens. All praise and glory to God. Everyone should be Catholic. Culture, there's nothing hidden from culture. So we got to get political, economical, beautiful, artistic, all this stuff. Not autistic. I mean, autistic is fine. Artistic. But God bless you. God keep you. Until next time. Good night.